This is On the Sidelines with Fox 13.
All right, welcome back into the On the Sidelines podcast, coming at you on the Fox local app, Fox 13 YouTube page, and wherever you get your podcast. I'm Ethan McReynolds, here with D-Jack Dante Jackson, producer Chris Swanson. D-Jack was wearing his Lucky Mariners jersey,
yes,
but was taking it off for the episode. I'm very disappointed because the Mariners need a turnaround.
I'm not taking a shower in my Mariners uniform to change their luck. Okay.
I mean, anything will work. Can we get the Etsy witch back? Come on, Dante. The Etsy witch worked last year.
Yes.
And you didn't like it, but I mean, you do a lot of things for an Etsy witch type turnaround right now.
It's a sad case when a franchise needs the Etsy witch. I talked about it last year ad nauseum.
I don't care what it means.
We had Humpy, and now this year we got Jimothy.
Jimothy
whatever works, man.
Jimothy did not work. Jimothy did not work.
Oh man.
Guys, no Gino Suarez in the top 50.
No, Gino.
What's going on? That was one to me awesome weekend.
Was that your glaring omission?
That was the first one to me that stood out. Now, Jeff Nelson is another one that, looking at the numbers, and he was a little bit before my time as a Mariners fan, but leading the franchise in what, relief appearances, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty big one. But Gino Suarez, for everything that he did, and then you see some of the other names on the list. Brian Wu has had one. Don't get me wrong, no disrespect to Brian Wu, but one full incredible season. Last year was an all-star. The year before, really good numbers, but you remember they were working him back from injury, 4 to 5 inning outings. He makes the list.
Mm-hmm.
Gino Suarez was an integral part of them getting back to the playoffs, has that huge grand slam in the ALCS. I just would have thought that somebody as ingratiated with the fan base as he would have made the list.
There's plenty of surprises on there. There was plenty of surprises of who wasn't there and who was there. First thing I'm going to say is I thought there was way too many current guys on there. There's nothing wrong with putting but Brian Wu's one of them. I think there's a couple others. I was just,
George Kirby,
really,
maybe?
Yeah, and it's not that they won't be there sometime. We're talking about 50 greatest going back to 1977,
right? And
a couple of guys, they've been here 3-4 years, and they will get there. But it just was really, I'm like, already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas my number one snub is a guy named Jim Presley. He was one of the first really good third basemen the Mariners had. He played from about 83 to 89 on the team. Ken Griffey Jr., in many times when he's talked about his time coming up, has pointed to Presley as one of the veterans when he first got here that took him under his wing and one of the leaders. He was an all-star in 86. Had a couple of great seasons, 20 home runs. Well, that doesn't sound like much, but like back in the mid-'80s,
totally.
If you hit like close to 30 home runs, that was a big deal.
Yeah. Yes.
So he was a very good player. The Jeff Nelson thing, I think, is probably the biggest snub. I think most people would agree with that. Does it have to do with some of the comments he made during the trading deadline, lack of organizational movement in 2003, and subsequently he was traded to the Yankees right after that? That's a possibility. At the same time, that was also 23 years ago.
And you buried a hatchet with Alex Rodriguez after 27 years.
Exactly.
You would really hope that
you would hope that that's not the reason. But if you look, and I know everybody wants to point to WAR as the big number on there of why guys are on there and why some guys shouldn't have been on there. I think he absolutely should have been on there. Jim Beattie being on there. I'm old enough to remember when Jim Beattie was a starting pitcher for the Mariners. I'm old enough to remember my dad taking me to games. And we get in there and they announce the starting pitcher, and my dad looked at me and he goes, "Son, I'm sorry, I didn't know Jim Beattie was pitching on that. I don't think this is going to be a win."
How did Jim Beattie catch a stray?
And if you look at Jim Beattie's numbers, and I know that it's tough we don't usually look at wins and losses for pitchers now.
Right.
But back then, wins and losses, because starters were going 7 or 8 innings to get wins. And if they were losing, they were out by 3 or 4. So wins and losses back in that era was an accurate way to look at pitchers. Yeah. He certainly didn't have that. Another one that just kind of struck me, I saw his name, Joel Pinheiro. Solid pitcher for the Mariners, and he was on the 0-1 team, but Joel Pinheiro.
I disagree. Joel Pinheiro was a great pitcher for the Mariners for a good 3 or 4 years.
Omar Vizquel is another glaring omission to me. Is it some off-the-field issues that's a part of that? I don't know. He played early in his career. He's probably going to be a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. He will obviously didn't get voted in yet, but he probably will sometime. As a 4-decade player, which means he played in parts of 4 different decades. There's not a whole lot of those in Major League Baseball. Griffey is another one, but he started his career here in '89 and played through '93. An absolute wizard at defensively at shortstop. And his offense developed later on in his career. But those are my kind of glaring omissions.
What do you think, DJ?
I don't. I agree with Jeff Nelson. I don't have many omissions because I think it's an indictment on an organization that so many current players and so many players that had short stints here as the Mariners are considered top 50.
Yeah,
you're talking about a franchise, and I don't want to rub it in, that never made it to a World Series. You don't have much success. You don't have much winning history here. So when you roll out a player that's been here a year or had a year, like a Brian Wu, who we love, we know he's a great pitcher, he has no business on this list as a top 50 greatest Mariner. So I think it's just an indictment on the organization not having a winning history and the players to back that up.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And, maybe a little bit appropriate that they got swept the Tampa Bay Rays that weekend.
Now,
it was just lifeless baseball on the field.
A question I have for you, Ethan, is after this sweep, is this rock bottom? Have the Mariners reached rock bottom?
I mean, they've reached a new rock bottom each of the last 4 weeks. I feel like every single time we prepare to do this show every Tuesday, once a week, it's like you can raise the question of, is this rock bottom? Now looking at it, yeah, right now, but I feel like it's sort of a pointless exercise because they could go 3-4 this week. Yeah, they can just hit a new low. So,
but with the 50 greatest in town, the celebration.
Yeah, it's low,
and then you get swept.
You're 7 games under 500 at 56 and 63. That's the most games you've been under 500 all year. There's only 3 teams with a worse record than you in the American League. This is a team that had World Series expectations at the start of the year. So, yeah, it's probably as rock bottom as it gets. But, I hesitate to say that because we've seen that this team can go even lower than you think that they're capable of.
You almost want to say, is that they hit rock bottom? I say, I hope so.
Right, yeah.
I hope we've hit rock bottom because you don't want this to go down any more than it already has.
It cannot get any lower.
Yeah. And somebody posted a question of who's going to be the Mariner manager after the Yankee series, and I responded. This was on social media, and I responded. I said the same guy that in 2 years everybody will want fired, because that's the what we seem to be going in. Dan Wilson showed a little bit of spark getting thrown out in that game the other night. You would have hoped that might motivate the team a little bit, but look at how many runs they're scoring per game. If they're scoring more than 4 a game, it's been pretty rare lately, and then it happens to be a bad night. Nothing's going their way. Part of a larger issue, though, is that upcoming schedule. We're still only probably knee-deep into it now. We're not chest high. Yeah. So rock bottom could hit. Let's hope it hit already, but if it hasn't, then let's hope it doesn't get any worse in the next 12 days.
I've got a question for you, Swanee. When Dan Wilson was a player, and I was a little bit too young to experience his playing days firsthand, was he a guy that had that spark? Not Lou Piniella spark, but was he ever? Did you ever see him get fiery or emotional as a player?
A couple times,
because he seems very even keeled.
Yeah, and I would say, no, I never saw him kind of do a blow-up and get over-emotional. But he was also a guy that would voice. He'd turn around and give the umpire a piece here and there. But he wasn't very animated, and he didn't go overboard. But he was also kind of one of those quiet leaders. He was a dude that it didn't have to talk a whole lot. He was going to lead by example.
Sort of like a Cal Raleigh type.
Yes,
yeah.
And he was very much a gutty, gritty catcher that trying to stop split-finger fastballs that were bouncing 4 feet in front of him from Norm Charlton and Bobby Ayala back in those days. Thank goodness he has a background as a hockey goalie growing up. That paid off with his chest. Yeah, he was a hockey goalie growing up in Minnesota, which paid dividends as a catcher. But no one ever thought anything negative of him at all, which was why when he became a hitting instructor and a roving instructor in the organization, I saw him down in Tacoma, I don't know how many times. Very well liked, very well loved.
Yeah.
When he was named manager, it was kind of like, okay, certainly icon and everything, but never managed
Well-
and never been never managed even in the minor league level. At least Dave Valley had.
The reason I raised that question is because I see him get fired first for the Gabe Spire situation with the Tigers and then with the awful umpiring on Saturday, and he's like laying into the umpire and stuff, and this is pure speculation, but it just doesn't. It looks like it's forced in a way, like he's doing it because he has to, and it doesn't look natural. And it's almost like on Saturday, like all the greatest Mariners are in town, and he sort of has to put on a show, like he has to do it, and like that, like it just didn't feel authentic to me,
okay.
And so that's why I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, this is more embarrassing than it is. I hope this galvanizes the troops.
Sure.
I feel like when I saw, I was like, I just don't have a good feeling about the direction that this is going to head.
I totally see where you're going there, because I have shades of John McLaren in his post-game rant in 2008.
I just saw that clip the other day.
And it's just, and to come and find out, later on, I was working at another organization in town when that happened, and I remember we were watching it, and after about 30 seconds of it, you're like, okay, this was clearly planned. Yeah. So was it? But okay, if it was, I'll say this: if it was, he picked the right moment to do it. He didn't force a moment to do it.
Well, I don't know if it was
spot.
I don't know if it was planned. More so, the situation came like he felt like he had to play the Lou Piniella role, for lack of a better term, in that moment.
The situation presented
it just was not natural.
The situation presented itself.
It wasn't like, oh, get him, Dan. It was like this is not your lane.
I will say this though. Obviously, he was heated at the umpire, and the umpire was saying something to make guys mad. Because if you watch
Manny
that
Acta,
whole clip, you see Manny Acta turn and start giving it back to the umpire. When the guy who's trying to get the manager away from the umpire turns around and he raises voices too, then there's something there. And that umpire, let's be honest, I mean, he didn't have a banner weekend here. He didn't have a banner yesterday either. Yeah. So he's been involved in some other calls this season. So was it? I just think he kind of took advantage of the opportunity that was there. Did it feel forced? It did, only because of his normal demeanor. But if it was, he certainly picked the right time to do it, because that was a horrible call.
Right.
I think the thing I wish is that there would have been a better result out of it.
And he should have did it earlier in the season.
Yeah.
This is where I get upset, because I've been banging the table after week 1. You just don't, and for all of those, it's still early, people. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say
Not
it.
anymore.
I'm gonna sound like your parent. I told you so. Okay, you can see it in their face. They wasn't competing in the right way from the beginning of the season. So Dan Wilson, we needed this rant. We needed you to go off in the beginning of the season to set the tone for the season. It's too late. He's feeling the pressure now. As far as how he's been as a player and a manager now. When you describe him and somebody say, how is Dan Wilson? The first thing you say is he's a good guy. You say nothing about baseball, he's a good manager or he's intelligent and he knows the game. The first thing you say is he's a good guy. And that's great sometimes, but sometimes you need a good manager, a good baseball person. And a good manager, good baseball person, they do this 3 months ago, not 3 days ago.
Yeah, it just feels What's most disheartening to me is it feels like there just hasn't been much progress as far as his feel for the game as a manager. Yeah. And you would think that, it would be a good fit given he's a former catcher. A lot of former catchers become the best managers in the league. Look at Stephen Vogt in Cleveland.
Scott Service didn't have experience neither.
Yeah, so it's tough. And it complicates it even further when you go down this route of having a former player as entrenched in the organization as Dan Wilson is, because it makes it a lot messier to cut ties. And Ryan Divish came out with an incredible article on Seattle Times of basically explaining why the Mariners are unlikely to move on from Dan Wilson. And he's got some interesting nuggets of how if they were to cut ties with him, it would probably permanently fracture that relationship.
It usually does.
Which sucks that is a determining factor. That shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? It should all be about what gives this Mariners team the best chance to get to the playoffs and ultimately to the World Series and win a title.
He's also the first hire they've ever had as a manager that I can at least recall who really had history with the team. Lou Piniella had no history with the team when he came here. Renee Latchman back in the day, Chuck Cottier, Dick Williams, all these guys from back that Don Wakamatsu, even recently, Eric Wedge, Mike Hargrove. They had no history with the team. They'd never been involved. They'd never played. They'd never been a scout. They'd never nothing. It wasn't until you got to Dan Wilson was like, let's bring a guy in who's been with the organization and feels things our way. And that might be the problem, is that maybe you need an outside voice to come in who's not afraid to get animated like that in game 9.
But the other
not game 99.
Right. The other interesting aspect in Divish's article is he wrote that when, because the build up to where we are right now is very similar to the build up to when Scott Service was fired 2 years ago. And the difference that Divish writes about is that with Service, he was more hands-on, controlling, and the guys had sort of outgrown that. And so, it was more likely, I feel like, that new leadership was going to help out. Divish notes that with Wilson, he is still beloved in that clubhouse.
Yeah.
And the guys in there still believe that they can turn it around, which I guess, not a lot of people are. I mean, Divish is one of the guys that is most in tune with the team.
He's an everyday guy in there.
Yeah.
So for him to say that, I mean, that has some legs. And isn't that the job of the manager at the end of the day? Like a main part of being the manager.
Scott Service also had a 10-game lead with his team in mid-June in 2024 and failed to make the playoffs. And not only failed to win the division that you led by 10 games roughly halfway through the season.
Devil's advocate, Dan Wilson at the beginning of the season had World Series expectations. The team is 7 games under 500, and he's 11 games under 500 since June 9th.
Yeah.
In 2 months.
I'll put this on the players. If you cutting up a blame pie, Dan Wilson only gets a sliver of that. Most of this goes to the players and the makeup of the team. Now, I was listening to Sports Talk the other day, and they asked, what's going on with these Mariners? And a Mariner insider said, I don't know what's going on with this team. It's the same team as last year.
Yeah.
They made it this far last year. I don't know what's wrong this year. Well, maybe that's the problem. It's the same team as last year. And guess what they didn't do last year? They didn't make it to the World Series. Now, I know they're not even living up to playoff expectations right now, but you wasn't obsessed with the championship, as I say every week. You didn't bring in the ringers like Dodgers did when they doubled down on Scooble and they went and got all these players on top of their all-stars. That's what you do when you have a championship mindset. And the reason why people are so angry and upset is because you've never even been there. You've never been there. I don't care about the Etsy Witch. I don't care about Jimothy. I want a championship, and we want it now.
If the Etsy Witch helps, I care about the Etsy Witch.
It's got to work, though.
If it works.
Doubt about that.
Jimothy did not throw Jimothy out of the play.
Yeah.
That did not work.
Enough of that.
Jimothy didn't work.
Jimothy's roadkill at this point. I mean, the Mariners season might be too, unfortunately.
Props to the Mariners marketing and social media teams.
Kevin Martinez
the
is
day
master.
after Jimothy went viral, he was like on the big board. I was covering the first game back from the All-Star break, and they had him. They didn't put him up there to make much noise because they got blown out by the Giants in that game. But they are quick with it. Also, to sort of wrap up the 50th anniversary, awesome celebration.
Yeah.
Yes.
The home run derby, I was really upset. I didn't see the game, saw the score. I was out at Capitol Hill Block Party this weekend. I was walking home, and the home run derby's on. I'm like, you know what, fine, I'll throw it on. I was wildly entertained. I was having a great time watching Mike Cameron hit a couple bombs. Austin Nolan went off. Stephen Romero wins the whole thing. Ichiro.
Yes.
I missed Ryan Roland Smith's part live, but I watched it after the fact. That was awesome. And with how many people stuck around, like the marketing team does an incredible job. It just sucks. Like imagine if this team was 15 games over 500. They just finished winning 2 out of 3 against the Braves. Oh, man.
All 3 games.
Like, just such a missed opportunity by those guys in the dugout.
Yeah, and I talked
really
about winners in the
disappointing.
organization in the front office. And I said they lack that, but not the marketing team. You're talking about a marketing team that's won awards for their campaigns.
Let's give the marketing team a win.
No, we look forward, as fans, we look forward to spring training when they pulled out their commercials and they were always funny. They were always great. It was one of the better parts of the year and looking forward forward to that season. So the marketing team has always been great. It's the baseball team that's disappointed us. It's the baseball front office that's don't have the right mindset, that championship mindset, and willing to do any and everything to get a taste of that championship. And that's what we want.
I think there was, the trade deadline, one of the biggest sellers of the trade deadline was the Toronto Blue Jays. And if you look at the wild card standings right now, the Toronto Blue Jays are tied with the Mariners in the wild card standings.
Half game back. Or
is it? No, did they win?
The Blue Jays won yesterday.
Okay, so even worse than I thought.
And the Tigers just gave up Tarek Skubal, and they're also
I
in front of
like the
Mariners.
Taylor Ward acquiring him. I like that move. It just wasn't enough. There had to be another. I know it sounds like a broken record. There had to be another Geno. There had to be another big bat coming in here that opposing pitchers would go, well, we can't intentionally walk. We can't get two guys on and allow that guy to come up with two batters.
But I just don't feel like that type of bat was available on the market. Like
but everything we
who
don't
would you
know.
Who would you have wanted them to get?
I feel like Adley Rutschman.
Yeah, are you gonna punt on Cal Raleigh?
No, but you need it. I'll punt on Dom Canzone being your DH all the time. I'm mixing that.
And right now,
He's your best hitter in the lineup.
Cal Raleigh can split time right now.
Yes,
he can do that. I mean, if you self accountable, like you got to know, like, hey, I need to sit down.
I guess that comes it comes back to the big overarching question: is this team with how the players are playing? Is it because the Red Sox gave up a lot to get Adley Rutschman? I mean, they sold the farm.
Yeah,
is that the guy? Is this the time to sell the farm? When it really comes down to it, like if you get Adley Rutschman, I don't think it moves the needle unless Cal Raleigh turns it around and turns into his career norms. Julio Rodriguez turns it around and starts playing above average. Josh Naylor turns back into the guy that you saw last year through October. I just don't think one guy does that.
I don't. If that guy's hitting, I think it does.
Yes, I agree.
I think if that guy's hitting, it gets contagious. Because, and I'm not saying, I get what you're saying. They're not just one piece away. I think chemistry does play a lot of it. But if you get a guy that can come in and is not necessarily a home run hitter, but is a gap hitter, is a down-the-line hitter, that's what T-Mobile Park is tailor-made for. I would have liked to have seen that, but I think a lot of teams were hesitant in a lot of ways, which is why the Red Sox got what they got. I think a lot of teams are hesitant because of the pending off-season possibilities. And also, too many teams are just a little too in love with their own prospects.
That's fair.
And the Mariners are one of them. Now, they'll let a guy go here or there. Harry Ford gone to the Nationals for Jose Ferrer. So it does happen, but does it happen enough? You didn't do enough in the offseason, so now you need to do it in the midseason. Yes. And they didn't really do either. I like Ward being in. I think he's a good addition. I mean, should have homered the other day. The ball, I think it was about 2 feet from the bottom of from the top of the
marine
ball.
layer.
Now,
triple off that.
The other aspect, though, Adley Rutschman's still on the injured list. So can you really afford to trade all of those prospects away for a guy that is you don't know when he's going to be back? Like I just don't think there was a move that was going to offset all of the problems you have in the locker room on the guys that you are depending on.
There was no one fix-all. You're right about that.
But I do think one player matters. And you know who else thinks that? Raul Banez, one of the top 50. I just talked to him on Friday personally, and he was talking about how hitting is contagious. We talked about a game when he went 6 for 6. And he said, was you in the zone? What was going on that day? He said, I was looking at Ichiro, who was having a great year. He said, and that guy thought he was going to get a hit every at-bat. Mm-hmm. And he said, we were all in the clubhouse talking about it like he thinks he's going to get a hit every time. So he said he was like, well, why can't I get a hit every time? So he confirmed hitting is contagious. And he said also not hitting is contagious. Right. I said, no, Raul, not hitting is a plague.
Yeah. Fair point. Yeah, I mean, the Mariners aren't dead yet. As much as they feel dead and buried, and you know the weekend sort of felt like a funeral in a way for this team. Somehow they're not. I mean, they're 4.5 out of the division.
A 4-game win streak could change moods fairly quick, but you got to win 4 in a row first.
Bro?
Yeah,
really?
Yes.
So
especially
so they win,
who they're going up
They
against.
win 4 in a row. Ethan, you back on board?
Oh no, but the mood of the entire that clubhouse and the entire
Are
fan
you
base.
back on board? They win 4 in a row. Are you back?
I'll start
on board?
going. Okay, there's a legit shot here.
I will raise my eyebrow.
Yeah.
It will get an eyebrow raise.
But that's all it takes to get right back in the conversation because Texas and Houston are not winning or running away with this.
Now the most difficult part is the Astros have a cakewalk of a schedule through August.
Yes.
The Mariners have I don't know the number, but one of, if not the hardest schedule in all
the
of baseball.
Rangers have a pretty much a walk as well.
Yeah,
but so you've really got to make up with the head-to-heads, and the Mariners get that chance with Houston here coming up.
So look, here are the next 5 series. You've got the Yankees, the second best team in the American League. You've got Houston's leading the division. You got Milwaukee, the best record in baseball, I believe. Then you've got Philly and the Cubs, who are both in playoff positions in the National League. Those are your next 5 series. They're all against winning teams. There's one team that has a losing record after that, and then you get the Red Sox, who are the hottest team in baseball. So that's the stretch for the next 3 weeks. If you lose the next 2 series, Yankees and specifically against the Astros, and you head into the next 4 or 5 series, 6 games back in the division, with still 5 teams in front of you in the wild card. I mean, a 4-game winning streak can start to change everything, but you lose 4 the next 6. I mean, that's sort of all she wrote, right? I mean, like we're looking at this week as sort of like things could sort of end here, barring a miracle. 2
of these series they got to grind out 2 out of 3 wins. I mean, and they seem to play up. This is the weird thing about the Mariners the last few years. They tend to play up to some of the best competition. Yeah. They tend to lose to teams that you look at and go, how in the heck did you get swept? How did you lose 2 or 3 of that team? And then they go and play a first-place team from nationally, whether it was the Cardinals a few years ago or what, and, they get a sweep. They win 2 of 3, and you're going, where was this? Mm-hmm. Where was this against Cleveland a month ago? Yeah. When you were in the dumps. So it can happen. Will it happen? I hope so, but I shudder to see.
I think it's hard when you just haven't seen the life for pretty much. It's like, if they could just capture. There was that 8-game winning streak, but it feels like
last year at this
point. Yeah. So I don't know. It's really I'm a glass half full guy, and it's really hard right now to see that. So let's move on. That was
enough of the bad talk.
Enough of that. Let's go Seahawks, because we got some
Super Bowl champions.
We got some good news today this morning. On this Tuesday morning. Nick Emmanwori has passed his physical.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah. So still unknown. John Boyle broke the news. Seahawks.com did not mention in there, as makes sense from the team beat writer, any sort of like mention of his timeline or what that could mean. But a significant first step in getting him back for week 1, him passing his physical before any of the preseason games have started. Who knows? Maybe he could make a cameo in that week 3 game against the Chiefs before the regular season opener. Who knows? But I mean, we saw in Hard Knocks last week. We'll talk about Hard Knocks a little bit. How vital Nick Emmanwori is to Mike McDonald's defense, right?
Yeah. It's clear what part he plays in that. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to tell you I had a crystal ball, but I had a feeling that he was going to do something great. Here's why. One of my old bosses back in Wisconsin, his son was playing ball, was a long snapper at South Carolina. So my old boss was going down there a lot, and when the draft happened, he texted me immediately, and he goes, the Emmanwori guy they got from South, he goes, that guy can play. Yeah. He goes, he will do things. And I was like, I'm kind of sitting there going, because I follow the SEC fairly, because I'm an Alabama fan. I follow the SEC fairly close, and I was like, really? And he goes, absolutely. He goes, that dude will be a player. And, we saw what we saw last year. So to have any sort of positive step in the right direction at this point, and no setbacks, I think, you'll take whatever little victory you can and trying to get that guy back on the field, even if it's half a step. If it's half a step in the right direction, is a good thing.
And
you were at an 8 on the panic meter or whatever, right?
I was at a 7.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm down to a 5. He passed the physical. Okay. I'm still concerned. Yeah. You want your players to play every game of the season. He missed 2 or 3 last season. We talked about him being nicked up all the time, so far in his career. That's something, it's not starting off well. I still believe that he is in danger of missing at least week 1. Yeah. Just reading the tea leaves, I understand that he passed the physical, but just the sight of him hobbling and stuff, and people tried to talk about, oh, they taped that 2 weeks ago. Come on, man. He can't even walk. He's in a scooter. Like, and you're talking about him playing an NFL game in less than a month? That just seems like too big of a leap. So I am still worried. I'm less worried. I'm at a 5 on the Puget Sound panic meter, but it still is some concern there, definitely. And you would be a fool not to be concerned. He was put on the PUP list. And you're talking about a linchpin in the McDonald defense. He's not just any player that they can replace. Some of this stuff was built around him, Ethan.
Yeah. No, it's a really good point. And, yeah, my concern has raised. I could very well see them being overly cautious, especially since this is an ankle injury that lingered. Because if you're talking about a setback after this, then you've got some serious problems after a cleanup surgery. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is concerning. I think right now, if he only missed week 1, I would be happy.
I was always thinking week 3 return. So
see, now that to me even just week 2 like that's because you've got week 1 September 9th on that Wednesday, then you got a full 10 days before week 2. I believe it's September 20th in Arizona against the Cardinals. If after all of that, like the Seahawks opened the season before anybody, right? And so to me right now, my expectations, I'm surprised I'm feeling this way, to be honest, because I didn't think he was going to miss any time. But hearing everybody talk about if he misses just the one game, I'm okay, because that means that he is 100% ready to go, had this cleanup surgery, ankle's going to be totally fine, there's no lingering residual whatever, and he's going to be good for the long run. If that costs him a singular game, I think that's a win, personally. Even if coming into it, we didn't think he was going to miss a game.
Yes, and just to make the point, I don't want to see him preseason, whether he's healthy or not.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him. Put him in bubble wrap.
Probably not worth it.
Save him for the real ones.
Yeah. The other big news coming out of camp, Terrion Arnold was at the VMAC for a tryout with the Seahawks on Sunday. He was a former first-round pick, 24th overall pick just 2 years ago out of Alabama, cornerback. He was released by the Lions because he's facing 8 felony counts relating to a kidnapping case. Reportedly, there is an arraignment scheduled for Thursday. There was sort of in one of the court hearings a couple of weeks ago, the attorney mentioned that the Seahawks were one of 4 teams that had interest in Arnold. I guess to make the argument that his bond or bail or ankle didn't need to wear an ankle monitor or something like that within the court proceedings. Now the Seahawks are actually having him in facility for an actual tryout. I mean, that is significant. He's the only team that he has reportedly tried out for. So
this is his second visit.
I believe just the first.
Okay.
Initially it was there had been contact with him.
Okay.
Now he's actually in for a physical tryout, which the team has to report. I believe similar case to Aaron Donald with the Rams, if I'm not mistaken, in the rules with the NFL. But Dante, is this due diligence, or does this sort of, John Schneider talks about doing due diligence on every single player, and that's his job, or is this more of we're worried about that third cornerback spot? Yeah. We need to take a risk here.
Yes, I believe it's the latter. I posed the question: due diligence or desperation? This move, bringing him in, reeks of desperation. And I said reek, and guess what? We're missing Reek Woolen. All right? I think it's obvious. Everybody is concerned about the defensive backfield here, the cornerbacks. That position right now is a red flag for that position. You wouldn't bring him in otherwise. Now, I understand, no stone unturned, but a guy like this, allegedly, some of the crimes he supposedly or allegedly committed, you don't even want him in the state of Washington. Better yet, you're building. So I don't understand this. You just won a championship. You have great character guys. You're innocent until proven guilty. But, where there's smoke, there's fire. I wouldn't touch this guy with a 10-foot pole. And the fact that the Seahawks brought him in for this visit, it reeks of desperation.
There's been a lot of guys that they've brought in over the years, and I think a lot of that was attributed, that's kind of Pete's way. Well, maybe it wasn't Pete's way. Maybe it was a little bit more John Schneider type of way. I'm of the belief of, look, there's a court of public opinion, and there's a court of law, and things are adjudicated actually in the court of law, not public opinion. So, and I'm a second chance guy. So I'm willing to give it a look and let that legal process play out. Does it reek of desperation? I wouldn't go that far, but I see where you're going. I see where you're going there, and certainly the secondary is a concern. But if there's talent to be had there easily and quickly, and they can get it, why not take a shot?
And they may know something we don't know. With Raymond coming Thursday, like Ethan said, maybe they got a precursor of like he might beat the Chargers.
And don't we love a redemption story in America? We love to build people up, tear them down, and then see them redeemed somehow. That's a long ways off. There's a lot that has to happen before that. But if that were to be the case, I would love to see that happen wearing a Seahawk helmet.
What scares me a little bit is, and I have no inside, information on how the court case is going or whatever. The fact that the Seahawks are the only team that have had him in for a try. If the other teams wanted to dig, and this is a first round talent, right? So like this is if he is going to be the court case settles itself out and he's able to play or whatever comes out of that, wouldn't other teams also be interested? Like if because they have the ability to go and dig as well. On a first round talent, you would think a lot of teams would do that. So the fact the Seahawks are the only team to have him in for the tryout. That's concerning to me. Like if the Seahawks were one of 8 teams, that would give it looks like the court case is going in the right direction. Things are, and I don't know all the ins and outs of like what he is accused of doing and the charges and all that, but if that's going in the right, the fact the Seahawks are the only team, that's I don't know about that.
You get a little bit more leeway when you're the Super Bowl champs, I think, on a lot of things, because it's the ultimate. If you think about it, when your team wins the Super Bowl, it's the ultimate silent middle finger that you get to give to everybody. You're a team that even teams that make the conference championship game and lose, there's going to be somebody out there that you guys didn't get over that.
I do it on the NFC West huddle to our LA representatives every single week.
When your team wins the Super Bowl, your defense is we won the Super Bowl.
I go right here. Yeah. Gerard Moncure in LA right here.
So you do get you do get, I think, a bit of leeway on that, because you've obviously, you don't get to that championship, you don't lift that Lombardi if you didn't take some risks and make some moves, and some moves that other people went, what are they doing? I mean, we saw that in the last 4 drafts. There was guys who were, that's a reach, that's a stretch. We saw that back in 2010, 11, and 12 in those drafts too. We saw the result of that.
The 2012 F grade on that draft, the Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner
should never
draft.
work in media again.
Yeah.
So I think you get some leeway as being the Super Bowl champ on that. And you know what? There's just kind of a why not? What do we have to lose? We don't have anything to lose. Does it reek of desperation? True. But we don't have anything to lose.
Well, and to your
I don't have a problem with it.
To your point, Bill Belichick did that a lot of bringing in guys with character issues, because he had his set foundation of culture and incredible leaders, and in a place where some guy who needs a second chance, a good foundation for him to get himself right. And Mike McDonald said as much to the media yesterday. He was talking about they were doing their due diligence and learning about the person, and we also think maybe this could be a good fit culture-wise for him. So interesting to hear him actually give some insight into their thinking, because he doesn't do that a lot with the media. No. It feels like they're pretty interested in this guy for sure.
Yes, because they know people are up in arms about this and the situation that this guy is in.
They know it's gonna cause headlines.
It's gonna raise
and
eyebrows.
That's not something that the Seahawks generally go for, right? I mean, they don't generally bring in a lot of guys with a lot of off-the-field drama or pending court. These are 8 felony count. This is some
serious
some
stuff.
big potatoes right here.
But when you have lifted that Lombardi, you get to say, whether wrong or right, you get to say, hey, we know what we're doing with some of our moves.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants to counter that can go, okay.
And that's where we come in. That's where when the sidelines come in, because we can question it, because there's no doubt about his talent. He's a first-round talent. He was a starter with the Detroit Lions. He was a good player. So we know the talent is there. We're talking about the character and him committing crimes, allegedly. So hopefully it work out for him. Hopefully it work out for the Seahawks. I just think it just basically puts the magnifying glass on that secondary. Right now they say Nehemiah Pritchett is in the lead for that third quarter. I saw that movie before. All right, now I know people can improve.
Was Kelly Jennings in that movie?
Hey, let's just say this: I left halfway through it. So they need to figure it out. Figure it out, Seahawks.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they move forward from there. But Chris, to your point, the Seahawks have earned some benefit of the doubt. And when we don't have all the information, like prior, results,
if they'd have lost to the Rams in the NFC Championship game last year, you don't have this extra wiggle room.
And then to counter my own point of the Seahawks are the only team that have even had him in for a tryout and a visit. The Seahawks and John, I mean, like they generally don't do this. So the fact that they were comfortable enough to go this far, I guess, is a green flag as far as like they know what they're getting themselves into with the risk here, right?
And this is only a tryout. They have not signed this guy to a 5-year deal or anything like that. They haven't given him $14 million signing bonus.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes. We could be talking next week about, hey, remember when they did that? Yeah. This could be over in 4 days.
Yes, exactly. And they talk about it all the time, chasing edges, going just there, where you don't go over that line. I think this would be across that line if this guy is signed, if he's found guilty, definitely.
That changes things.
Yeah, that would be
and they say it is some connective tissue as far as with the roster. You got Josh Jobe from Alabama. You have some of the coaches, Carl Scott, I'm sorry.
Jaron Reed's an
Jaron
Alabama
Reed.
guy
So you have some people that vouch for his character, which Mike McDonald talked about. Like, hey, we have some people that talked about him as a person. It don't match what these charges are. So we're going to take a look. I respect that. But at the same time, do you need that? I don't know.
Yeah, be really interesting to see. Let's the Seahawks actually open preseason action, guys. When we're back on this podcast next week, the Seahawks will have played a full football game.
Nice.
That's pretty exciting.
Yes.
Preseason opener Saturday, their only home preseason game against the Dallas Cowboys. Who are you most excited to see out there? We're probably not going to see a lot of starters. So I mean, like the past couple of preseasons, George Halani has flashed. You really liked Cartier Wright last season.
Breakout star.
Who is sort of who's the guy that you're most excited to see? Who do you think is going to pop?
Mine's a position group. I want to see the offensive line keep the cohesion. And I also want to see, and because it's the first preseason game, you're going to see a lot of this, I want to see the backups, especially the defensive line, especially the secondary, and the offensive line. I want to see how they gel. I know they're just the backups, whatnot. Those guys may be called upon by weeks 10 and 11 to play very key roles.
Yeah.
So you want to see how they're clicking. You want to see that assignments are being, particularly on the offensive line, you want to see that assignments are being carried out properly. Those are the things I'm eyeballing. It's one of those times you have to, if you're watching a preseason game, you have to train your eyes not to follow the ball and snap from the center and from that left tackle to the right tackle and see, exactly what they're doing. Same thing with the defensive line. They get in a push. Defensive backs are a little bit harder to watch on TV because the networks usually shoot so tight on those. But offense and defensive line, particularly offensive line cohesion, just kind of want to see that, especially with the starters, even if it's for one series. And if it's, if they go 3 and out and punt, maybe they get 2 series in there. I can't imagine it'd be anything more than 10 plays.
Right. I would like to see Elijah Arroyo, second-year tight end. 15 catches, 179 yards, and 1 touchdown last season. It was underwhelming. Let's be honest. He was a second-round pick, I think 50th pick.
Yeah,
so we expected a lot more from him. We was told he was explosive. He can catch the ball. He was like a wide receiver in a tight end's body. And he got hurt towards the end of the season, so he wasn't healthy. I expect him to break out this season, especially with new offensive coordinator Brian Fleury.
Oh, yeah.
He was a tight ends coach the last 4 years with San Francisco,
Great
who
point.
has one of the best tight ends in the NFL, and George Kittle, if you ask me. Now, I don't think Fleury ever had a tight end room like he has with the Seahawks. You have an emerging superstar in A.J. Barner. You have a rising, sophomore in Elijah Arroyo, and Saubert, your grizzled veteran who can block anything. So you have those 3. I don't know if he had that in San Francisco. So I look forward to Elijah Arroyo breaking out this season. Now, you still have A.J. Barner, who's going to get the bulk of the snaps, but expect Elijah Arroyo to make some splash plays, send him up the middle. I expect him to at least get 5 touchdowns this year. I'm putting a number on it, Ethan.
Okay.
5 touchdowns, at least 500 yards. I think that's a good season for him, being back up to A.J. Barner.
Yeah, absolutely.
So look out for Arroyo.
When it sort of come out, Jeremy Fowler, I believe, was around training camp. He noted that Brian Fleur in his offense, 2 running backs, which is interesting, and 2 tight ends as well. Really loves the two tight end sets, sort of like Sean McVay with the multiple tight end sets. Guy who I'm most excited to see, I'm really excited to see Jalen Milroe and how much progress there has been from year 1 into year 2. There's been a magnifying glass on him around training camp. Started out very, very poorly. It has progressed to being a lot better than that. Guys have noted when I've been out there, I've seen a little bit of it. I've seen flashes. I've also seen him holding onto the ball too long, which is one of the gripes last year. But I haven't been out there in the last week or so. Guys have talked about how he's getting the ball out a lot quicker. Accuracy has improved a little bit. So, I mean, Mike McDonald has talked about, where they're focusing on him playing the quarterback position before they put in the trick plays and all the special packages and all that stuff. So how is he going to be playing quarterback in this game? And I think if he shows out in this preseason, there's a road to where he can get, we can see him in custom packages. He'll be active on game day to where they can actually trust him to do things with the football. Because we saw ball security and trust were lacking last year for Jalen Milroe, and he wasn't active the rest of the year after that. What was that Tampa Bay game? So, is the progress is it actually going to show in game action? That's the biggest thing that I'm looking out for. We've got Hard Knocks coming out tonight. I'm sort of bummed that it's coming out after the podcast and a whole week before. It's sort of like old news. But that first episode was we got to go. But the first episode was so awesome.
I mean, the running backs coach stole the show. You need to run this. You need to run this podcast like the running back coach runs that room. I told our sports director Aaron Levine. I said, anytime that you address the staff, you need to be like the running backs coach. I thought that was so well done. I mean, their production value has been good for a long, long time. To finally see it with the Seahawks, though, and really see a little bit more deep into personalities and conversations and hearing what guys are really saying out there. To me, it was refreshing. I think we know what it's like, but it was great to see it.
It's different, actually, like experiencing.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the rest of the country and the world gets to see it.
You know what? I didn't watch it.
What?
And I won't watch it.
Why?
Because when you zig, I zag. It's too much glaze on these Hawks right now, and I don't like everybody knowing how the stuff is made,
how the sausage is made.
Okay. No, I don't like it. I don't like all the glaze. I don't like all the praise that they get. And you need to stay humble. These Hawks need to stay with that chip on their shoulder.
Dante,
that's the best way they work.
You're missing out.
I'll give you my HBO Max password. You can log in. Well, I'm not afraid.
I didn't know you hated joy, Dante.
I'm that guy. Like I'm the Grinch.
Watch some
the Grinch that stole the NFL.
Watch some clips on YouTube if you haven't already. See if you change your mind. That's all I'm saying.
Emmanwori on a knee scooter was enough for me. I was checked out from that point on.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. We're getting out of here. That's the most ridiculous take I've ever heard in my entire life. Thanks for watching.
Too much glaze.
Jeez, man. Yeah. Of course you bury that take deep in the episode where people have already tuned out. Man, that's insane. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. However you're getting the podcast. Follow us on Instagram, at On the Sidelines Podcast. Clips and debate are over there. You can also hit us up in questions. DMs are open. Let us know. That's going to do it. For Chris Swanson, DJ Dante Jackson, I'm Ethan McReynolds. We'll see you next time on The Sidelines.
Let's go!
On the Sidelines is available wherever you get your podcast.